What is going on, everybody? This is Luke. Today we're going to be talking about the account health rating. Now, some of you have this and some of you don't, just because I posted in the group a couple of days back, end of last week, about the new account health rating, as you can see right in front of me, which is basically meant to help you gauge where your account kind of stands within the Amazon space, right? Within their platform, how they view your account, okay? So you can see here, 0 obviously is going to be the worst, and 1,000 is the best, okay? I have 648, and that relates to, you can kind of see what I've got in terms of policy warnings, right? Normally the food and safety one, that happens quite often. Same with the restricted products. You may get suspected, which isn't really that bad. Obviously, these two I'd say are the worst, or I'd say this is probably these two are probably the worst. I don't really get any of these review ones or product condition. Well, I haven't in many years, so I kind of don't really know how they would sort of play in the space. But let's talk about it, and it's something I've noticed and that kind of thing. So, interesting enough, this score here is not necessarily, it doesn't start off at like 1,000, for example, or 800 or 700 or some sort of number, maybe 200. I think it starts at 200. Sorry, forgive me. If you go into the actual, if you click here and you want to read a little bit about it, right, you can kind of get a feel for what it means. So ranging from 1 to 1,000. If it's green or healthy, based on a score of 200 to 1,000, so you can kind of see that's the line right in there, then that's basically where you want to be. So at risk is obviously there, and your account is at risk of deactivation. At risk is not going to be at risk of deactivation, it's just going to be at risk, obviously, if it's between 1 and 200, and then obviously below that is where you want to start trying to sort things like now, probably calling them, right? Even at risk, probably want to call them. That's kind of where you need to try to speed up any processes to get things actioned faster than not. Yeah. So what you can kind of see is, repeat policy violations, more resources, stuff like that. So again, I'm not going to go off this. You can go and look at this yourself in a little bit more depth. But what I've noticed is, for example, if I just jump into this food and product safety one here, I jump into it like so, and it actually comes up with, it's a Nescafe product that I was selling quite a while ago now, almost 6 months. So it's going to drop off maybe next month sometime. November, December, January, February, March, April 19th. Okay. But you can see here, account health rating impact, which is really what we want to be focusing on, because it's not about you having policy warnings. So the way I obviously initially saw was like, oh, it must have been higher than this, and now because I've got these, it's kind of come down, or something around that kind of thing. But actually, that isn't necessarily the case, because as you can see, it says no impact. Okay, so obviously you could submit your appeal, you can get these things removed, like as in how you can. Usually you can't do this because it's not my listing, and it's deleted off Amazon anyway. So it's just it's not something I can really fix. But yeah, it's saying no impact. So that in itself hasn't actually caused an impact here. Now, if you read obviously here, it says like repeat policy violations. So it doesn't mean that if you keep getting many in this category, for example, that wouldn't then cause issues down the line, because you're getting repeat issues rather than random things that are going to happen, because that will happen. Obviously, the bigger your account, the more chance you're going to have policy warnings, right? So what you can also find out is that in here, it basically says that the more it starts off that to do with more that you sell, the better over time, the better that you will actually get your rating or ranking or whatever you want to call this adjusted. Because the other day I had 644. Well, now I have 648. So that could be a mixture of the time until these drop off is obviously getting shorter. So, and that means that it's longer. There's more time elapsed, whatever. Since I got any issues with my account, so therefore I'm being rewarded for that with points. You know what I mean? So if these both drop off, obviously as time goes on, this will tick up to a certain number. So let's say I got to 672, these two drop off, and then that would in theory be right. Okay, clean account, and that's what 672 means. But as you sell more, do higher volumes, each time you get a policy warning, depending on what it is, of course, like how severe certain things are, this will be impacted less because you're selling more products. So if you only sell 50, 100 products, 100 products, obviously you get one issue, that's 1%. So that looks like a lot, and that can cause issues in the short term to all the defect rate and stuff like that. But you kind of get where I'm going. So the bigger your account, the less these are going to be impacted, unless it's a repeat issue, because it understands that you're going to be selling more products, so there's more chance that you're going to get exposed to a potential policy violation, right? And this number, it'd be interesting to see where it can go. So like, you know, I would like to compare this to other sellers' accounts just to get a feel for like what theirs looks like. And it doesn't also mean that the newer your account, it's slightly different. For example, the newer your account, these policy violations may impact your account. It's not impossible, because I know what Amazon's like. It says here no impact for me, but it doesn't mean that for other sellers it won't have an impact. So again, not all of you have this yet. I got an email first, saw it, and came in, and actually it's just really nice. So basically you can see that you start off at 200, all the way to 1,000, I'm at 648, and it's going up. So as long as I keep doing what I'm doing, obviously as time progresses, these will drop off. That should then also tick up because I'm being rewarded for not getting a new policy violation. Of course, if you start increasing your volumes on Amazon, this could potentially go up or be impacted less with a policy violation. Yeah. So this is something that really we didn't have before, and now it gives us an indication or an understanding of how things are impacting our account. Because we want to obviously, you know, when people can get like an authenticity or an intellectual and freak out thinking that's pretty much the end of it, I need to sort it now, otherwise I'm screwed. But now actually understanding how these are working in conjunction with the score is going to be really nice to actually working out how things are going to potentially impact your account in the future. So you can do scenario planning. Oh, you know, what if for example, I could do this. I'm a little bit sort of dubious and worried, or whatever the word should be that I'm using, to sell in certain categories because I've never been exposed or sold in those categories. So I'm a little bit tentative because I don't want to get a policy violation, right? That is a thought. When you're in a category, you've done it for ages, you get used to it and you understand how categories and policy violations work within that sort of category, that segment of products. As you start to venture out, you may not be as aware or know exactly what to look out for like you do in the current categories you sell. So this gives you potentially a bit of breathing space to go, okay, well, my score's really good. Even if this is impacted a bit by a policy violation in a new category because I did something wrong, it should be good because I have plenty of breathing space. You kind of get what I'm trying to say? So it really gives you a little bit more of control in terms of being able to use that data to then influence decisions and understanding behind things. For example, if you're getting a lot of one of these things in a category, you might think, you know what, I'm going to screw that. I'm going to chuck it out. I'm not going to sell in that category. I'm too worried. I don't want to get policy violations. But you can come in and actually see the impact real time, what's going on. And what you really want to obviously look out for is if you get a new policy violation, check the score and potentially document the impact it's having. Yeah. Now, obviously, if you get the same issue on the same product, or obviously depending on, for example, on the product authenticity, if you get repeated issues on the same products, yeah, that could be more of a impactful event rather than different, because it's on the same product rather than a different product, which means it could be a customer issue, as in the customer accidentally thought it was all not authentic, and it is. Yeah, stuff like that. Again, like I always, you know, the same with like intellectual property. Usually once you get intellectual property, I'm not exactly sure how it works, but I guess usually it will be is it across the brand or is it across that product? And it can, yeah, so I mean, usually this is across product, but it doesn't mean that you haven't got multiple across that brand or that product range. And you could get multiple of these that could be impacted differently because it sees that it's under a specific brand and therefore it's a repeat issue. So yeah, there's all these unknowns and variables that you kind of have to play around with in your mind a little bit to get a feel for how things could impact. But ultimately, keep an eye on this, see how things maybe impact, you know, in terms of over time, how this changes, because mine's gone up 4 points in, well, since it came out, maybe on Wednesday, so that could be 4 points a week. So I don't know if it's 4 points a week, right? But I'm just doing it, you know, spitballing here. So 4 points a week, 52 weeks, I can get 280 a year. Yeah. Let's say I get another policy violation and we're going to minus, I don't know, 30. Even though, for example, this actually says there's no impact, but let's just play around. So that's 178. Yeah. Plus 4. I just did it wrong, but plus 600. So I could have at the end of the year, within 12 months, 828 ranking or rating. Sorry, my mistake. Yeah, I'm just playing around with figures. Obviously, I don't spend too much time wasting, but just use it as a little bit of an understanding factor in terms of, right, okay, so now I can see, you know, what my account looks like how does it look, how does this look compared to what you would expect it to look like based on what you've got here and how you've been selling and stuff like that. And if it's within range, then you'd be like, right, okay, that everything I'm doing is pretty good. I'm going to get potentially issues, but if I increase volume, that should dilute the issue impact on my account. You might think, wow, why haven't I got 1,000 already? I've been selling for like 7 years, and I wouldn't say that's necessarily going to happen. I don't know, obviously, how easy it is to get up here and how easy it is to then come back down. That's the problem. You don't really know. So the only way to actually gauge that is to see real time by not obviously getting you don't want to get a policy warning, but you potentially want to see and keep an eye on when you do. And in the event, most people will at some point, even if it's just something kind of menial like restricted product violation, and you want to see what happens to the account. And even if nothing happens to the account, does it take a while for this number to actually then go back up? So for example, mine's gone up 4 in a week. What if I get, that's a say a restricted product violation? It might not impact it, but does it then take more time for it to then actually go up another 4 points? Or will this time next week I have another 4? Will it go up 4? So on, so on. So that's where you want to keep an eye on. And it's just going to give you that peace of mind that you didn't necessarily have before, moving forward and looking to potentially branch out into other categories and expand, obviously volumes and stuff like that. Because of course you're going to invest more money in stock. If there's an issue with your account, you don't want all that stock sitting there and I don't know, expiring or doing whatever, damaged or just being old. So yeah, gonna leave the video there. Hope you liked it, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.